And good evening all. I decided this week to do a video on a car that won't ever win Le Mans or fetch $1 million at auction, but I like it anyway for its sheer pluckiness and for being a hatchback, the TCR racing version of Alfa Romeo's Giulietta. And no, before anyone asks, it also isn't a secret testbed for new Formula One technologies or the herald of Alfa's interest in returning to sports car racing. In fact, the touring car version of the Giulietta has nothing to do with Alfa's motorsports interests at all, but more on that in just a moment. The regular Alfa Giulietta road car that provides the base for the TCR vehicle came out in 2010 and has proved a successful small family hatchback. Almost 500,000 units were produced during its 10-year production run, and it was generally well reviewed. Built on the Fiat Compact platform, this means that it shares its general underpinnings with a variety of FCA vehicles, including the Dodge Dart, Jeep Cherokee, and a bunch of Chrysler vehicles about which nobody's particularly bothered. Offered with a number of straight-four engines ranging from 1.4 to 2 liters in either petrol or diesel versions, and with either a 6-speed manual or a double-clutch automatic, power went to the front wheels, combo breaker, and there was a rather interesting McPherson strut front suspension, which integrates steering and suspension componentry into a single unit for easier packaging, improved crash safety, and better use of space. After its first refresh in 2014, the top-of-the-line hot hatch version, the Quadrifoglio Verde, later called the Veloce, came with a 1.75-liter turbocharged straight-four petrol engine that produced 237 horsepower and 251 pound-feet of torque, available only with the double-clutch automatic, and it is with this vehicle that our examination commences. Of the many hot hatch versions that rolled off the production line in Piemonte San Germano, a lucky 30-odd Quadrifoglio Verdes and Veloces have found their way to the aftermarket tuners and builders at Romeo Ferrari, located just outside of Milan. Unassisted by the factory, the boffins at RF went to work, keeping the base engine and the vehicle's body, and pretty much everything else was thrown away, with new shiny racing parts going in as replacements. In addition to the requisite safety equipment, the suspension was beefed up with new springs and gas dampers. The front brakes became big 6-piston units with ventilated steel discs, while the rears became 4-piston units with non-ventilated discs. Aggressive front and rear aero treatments went on, most notably the big in-house designed rear wing. A 6-speed sequential gearbox replaced the heavy double-clutch automatic, and a limited slip diff was added to improve cornering grip. All of this work knocked more than 100 kilograms or 220 pounds off the Giulietta's road weight, which alone would have improved the performance over the road-going QV's 149-mile-an-hour top speed and 0 to 62 time of 6.0 seconds, but the engine received some love as well, jumping up to a whopping 340 horsepower and 325 pound-feet of torque, which is respectable to say the least for a front-wheel drive small-displacement straight-four. First available for purchase, for a modest €128,000, I might add, and competition entry in the 2016 season, it debuted in TCR International Racing in Bahrain, running for Team Mulsanne, no points for guessing their ultimate ambitions, with a second car joining later in the season. The car met with moderate results, but 2017 saw Romeo Ferraris take a more active role in supporting the car in competition, standing up the GE Force team's 2 entries. A visit from our old friend, the BOP Ferry, brought ride height and weight reductions, and this proved to be the performance help that the car needed, securing 3 wins that season out of 20 races. The next year was somewhat less impressive, with only 1 win in the newly combined World Touring Car Cup, but teams in other championships did better, with 2nd overall in the Italian TCC. 2019 brought a raft of updates to the car to improve drivability, as well as its first appearance in the newly renamed Michelin Pilot Challenge in the US, which is where I've seen and enjoyed its presence immensely, particularly when contrasted against the absolute sea of Hyundais, however you wish to pronounce it, first with Velosters and then later the much more successful Elantras, Honda Civics, and Audi RS3s that make up most of the class. It took until 2021, however, for the Giulietta to score a class victory in that race series, taking home 2 wins in the season in Pilot Challenge at Road America and Road Atlanta, respectively, both the number 5 car driven by Roy Block and Tim Lewis Jr. for those wins. 22 brought 3 wins at Daytona, Laguna Seca, and Road America again, and this year, 2023, for those of you watching in the far future, did the same, this time with wins at Sebring, Watkins Glen, and Road America, the latter track seeming to decidedly favor the car given their three-peat, despite the car getting a bit long in the tooth at this point. We'll see what next year brings, but the number 3 car from 2019's roster, which was run by the same team, as we can tell from both of them running very similar black and gold liveries, is at least now showing up at historic races, so we can enjoy the Alphaness for many years to come. That brings us to the end of another, hopefully rather short video, and for this week's call to action not featuring the 3 sacred words of YouTube:
like, comment, subscribe.
Remember never to order shepherd's pie at a Mexican restaurant. As always, thank you for your time this evening, or whenever and wherever you are watching, and I wish you all a good night and a good tomorrow.